So, very good evening to everyone here in this video. So, after a very long time, the video which I actually made uh, just about a year ago on the YouTube. So, I'm back with another video updating that particular knowledge which I've actually shared in my previous videos. So, which was actually a year ago. So, it was the wealth stories. And there I actually explained a lot of things about the markets and the international markets, how they are actually working it. So now we are here in 2024. It's August of 2024, and we are seeing again the markets and seeing if the view that we made in that particular video, which was 1 year ago, is that view is still intact or not. So let me see this. So here's the weekly chart of the Dow Jones Industrial Average from the United States. And if you see, we have talked about this indices when we're at approximately at this particular position in the markets, right? So this was the thing, I think. Okay. So here's the thing. Oh, that's not line. It's the vertical line. This was the time we actually discussed about the markets at that particular time. And in 2023, we have discussed about how the de-dollarization process is going to happen in a particular stepwise manner. And if we see the markets, it's already working in progress, but I want to give some corrections into my views because the de-dollarization process is not going to actually kill the markets, right? It's going to actually make the markets very volatile because all the investments are going to be shifted in that particular sense. And if we see the cryptocurrency markets is going to play a very important role in this particular switchover. So, and also we have got some information from the Japanese banks that are holding a lot of bonds of the American markets. So we are seeing a hike in the interest rates in Japan, and I think this is part of the de-dollarization process because the Japanese banks are actually holding a lot of the treasury bonds of the U.S. markets. And if you see, these bonds are going to be slowly being released into the markets because, you know, if a Japanese stock market is going to perform itself, then why the banks of Japan is going to actually put all its money into one basket? It will like to diversify itself. So to increase the probability of getting a more earnings, they're going to actually hedge their bets. Now, if they are going to hedge their bets, which is probably the case I have mentioned in the previous videos, so, you know, it's going to actually happen, and it is going to happen with a very good speed, because now we have to see the Japanese markets. So here's a Nike, and see, it's already too much up from the levels where we have talked about. It's about 32% increase in 200 and approximately 1 year, right? And if you see the weekly charts of this Nikkei or the Nike 225, you can see it's already has crossed its all-time high, which was made in 1989. So this is confirming our views on the stock market of the U.S. that the de-dollarization is going to affect the markets very good because, you know, let's understand about the economics first. If we see what a bond actually do, a bond is simply a financial instrument where you actually give your money and say that I am going to give a particular amount of interest on this money which I'm borrowing from you, and I'm going to give you a piece of paper, right? Now, if you see the Japanese, they are having this piece of paper with them, and they're saying, hey, this piece of paper is giving me a return of about, let's say, a 3%, right? But the Japanese, the home Japanese stock market is actually giving a return of more than 10%, let's say on an average. So, if you are an intelligent investor, what you will do? The simple answer to this question is that you will shift to the Japanese market as much as you can. Since the quantities are at a very high level right now, so they can't actually just put out all the bonds at 100% sell them, right? They're not going to do this. They are not idiots. They are managing a financial system, and it cannot be possibly happening ever since or ever in the upcoming future. It's going to be a stepwise degradation process. So they are going to just clean off their portfolios from these American bonds, and they are going to actually hedge their bets into the Japanese stock markets. Now, if you see, they're actually going into the Japanese stock market, and this action could be seen in the price action, because see, the price action from this year is actually increasing too much, and we have actually hit and made a new high in the Japanese stock markets. So this is clearly an indication that my views on this particular thing is actually in a correct direction, and it is happening in a stepwise process, and this stepwise process can be seen here, right? So this was a very short update video for the views that I have expressed in the YouTube channel, which I actually made just to express my views on the charts and the international markets. I'm not going to share any kind of stock-specific moves here, but let's see if this is happening in the world. Okay, let's take another case. If this is actually happening in the world, so where we stand means where our Indian markets actually stand. So let's see the Nifty 50. Okay, it's an index which is of India, and if you see the dollar term of this index, you can see a steep rise in it. Okay, it's also about a 30% or a 28% rise, because if you use a US dollar Nifty 50, which is adjusted according to the US dollar, you're actually able to see the trends that are actually happening in the international markets in comparison to the Indian markets, right? So you can see a rise here, which is really good. If you see from this particular level, we have all raised to this particular level, which is about 20 to 25% increase in the markets. Now, if you see the exact rupee terms of the Nifty 50, it's going to be much more than that, or it's actually 26%. So this is clearly indicating that we are in a bull phase, right? And if we are in a bull phase, and it's just the start of the bull markets that we are expecting to come. And another thing to remind is that I have given some of the targets for the Nifty 50 in my previous video, which was 1 year ago, and those targets are being hit exactly. Okay, exactly approximately after 1 year, right? I made that video, I think, in August 13, and in August 13, I actually made that video on 2023, and right now in 2024, we are sitting at 2471, and approximately I made the calculations at that particular time, and I said that Nifty is going to reach 24,000 for anything. It has to breach, and if this is going to happen, everything is following a part of sequence, right? Let's see some of the international indices. Um, let's say about China. What's happening in China? Nothing, nothing. And if this chart is actually making this kind of patterns and it's not moving, means the Chinese markets are also having a great time in their corrections, because this is a monthly time frame chart, and you can expect that the Chinese economy is not going to move anywhere for the next 5 years. Even in 2023, I actually said there's not going to work anything like here, and still the views are same on the Chinese markets. They're not going to go anywhere in this particular rally, which is going to happen because of the de-dollarization process. One thing you mentioned, I actually mentioned about the cryptocurrencies and the use of the cryptocurrencies and the commodities, and primarily the gold in this transactional process. So if we have this theory clear, then we can see the Bitcoins, which is one of the most popular cryptocurrencies right now. We can see a sharp rise in the Bitcoin, all the way from here to here, which is about 177% return on the Bitcoins. So this is also clearly indicating that the money is going to be transferred with the way, having its way from the cryptocurrencies and the gold. Okay, so let's see what's happening in the gold, right? So where is the gold? Okay, we have the gold here, and see the gold prices right now. It's already 30% hike from the 2023 levels in the August. So you can see the theory which I have explained in the video in 2023 is exactly working in the markets right now, and the markets are playing itself in that particular manner where I have actually dictated. Now, people will say I am dictating the markets. No, it's not. It's the nature of the markets. I'm just seeing the nature of the markets and saying the market is going to work like this. This is the DNA of the markets, right? How the DNA actually functions. You know that DNA is not going to change in the markets. The DNA never changes itself. Okay? So in any kind of markets, you can actually predict the market based on these some kind of parameters that are controlling the markets, and if you see those parameters, how they function, you can actually say when the stock market is going to rise or fall. And here I have done this thing. So I think it's a very short video. It's going to be a very short video, so I'm not going to explain too much here. But let's have a look on other countries' stock markets. Like we have the S&P 500. It's a U.S. market. Nasdaq. Then we have the okay. I have not mentioned something which is really important here in the Dow Jones. So based on my theory, people will say the Dow Jones is going to crash. Everything is going to crash, and there will be a lot of zeros in it and everything. No, that's not going to happen. It's not a time for that. The reason why I'm saying this is that when this transaction is going to happen, right, the stock markets are actually going to boom with this. Not in a negative manner, but in a positive manner, right? So if you know about something called as the gate theory, right? Not the gate theory, actually. It's actually the Elliott wave theory, or in the modern terms, it's neo-wave theory. So one famous neo-wave strategist has actually explained that the the US market is going to reach 1 lakh US dollars. It's a prediction based on the Dow Jones Industrial Average. So he said that the markets are going to hit the 1 lakh US dollar of 100K US dollars, right? And it's going to hit. According to his theory, he said that we have entered into a last leg of the corrections, and now we are actually going to have a steep rise. Now, if this is going to happen, according to his theory, because we have seen his predictions have gone right all the time, so we can expect this thing that the US market is going to expand itself to a 150% return from this particular current level, which is 39,737.26. So now we have another add-on on our theory that if this is going to happen, the US stock markets are not going to outperform itself, right? Because this transaction which is happening is going to be through the Central Asian markets, okay? And if this is going to happen from the Bank of Japan, and the Bank of Japan is having the control of this whole transaction, we could see a very Goldilocks condition for the markets, right? If you say that the US market is going to increase about 100%, so we can expect that the Indian market is going to increase by 300, or to be more rational, 200%. Okay, so the actual thing is that the US market is going to lag itself in the case of returns, and the Indian market is going to actually always be forward of the US market in terms of returns. And we have seen a legendary change in the markets right now, because the Indian markets are actually not responding to the US markets as well as they were actually doing in the past. In the past, when the US markets had a big strike in it, the Indian markets would go more further down than that in percentage. But now we are seeing a major trend change here, that if you see the Indian markets, they might not go down, but they remain stable. They at least maintain the neutrality. They at least maintain a 0% increase or decrease in the price as compared to the US market's crash. A short crash, which means about 2 or 3% down. We are not actually working in sync with the US markets. And this is a clear indication that our roads are, we have crossed the crossroad area of this whole transaction of the bonds. And in the future, I can predict that in the next coming 5 years, there is going to be a massive bull market all over the world, right? All over the world. There's not going to be any kind of single crash here. And you can also see that the gold prices is actually also going to increase with this, because to maintain the kind of safety of the people in this whole rally. So this was my video, and I hope you like this piece of information that I've actually shared. It's a very premium information, but still I think I'm going to share this information because I want to have this kind of personal record for myself and for the future references, and also for the public. It could be a nice view changer, and this video is going to give you a very good perspective of how I actually see the market working. So thank you very much, and good night, because I'm in India, so we are going to say good night.